Well, hello everyone. This is Lumpini Park. I made a couple videos of this place last year. I came back here for Tet and I wanted to take a trip down memory lane because I lived right around the corner from here when I did live in Bangkok. I lived in Sathorn. And I wanted to give the viewers another look of my old stomping grounds. You know, it's ironic. Ever since I came back here, I've felt a great deal of nostalgia. It's like I feel like I came back home again. It's like my home away from home. Thailand left quite an impression on me. So, there you have it. It is quite a magnificent place. There are few places I've ever been to that have the kind of charm and allure and magic that Thailand does. I want to show everybody the skyline of Bangkok too, if you hadn't seen it before one of my previous videos. This is like their version of Central Park. I don't know if the viewers can hear all the traffic, but it is rush hour. So, there you have it. I never did get into one of those swan paddle boats, but I have always noticed them. I see a lot of tourists and expats around here because it is, in fact, the end of January, and this is peak season for travel. Over on that building over there, that's a big mural of the King of Thailand, King Rama IX, who passed away recently. They still like to pay homage to their king, and I don't blame him. He was one of the longest standing kings in the entire history of the world. He'd been in power since about the 40s, so that's a good 70-something years. No king, to my knowledge, in all the history books I've ever read, served in power that long. All right. I just love all these trees here. They're incredible. Whoa. So, a lot of people are out jogging. This is the best time of year to do it. The heat's not so brutal, and it's not so humid. If anybody ever wants to come to Thailand, I'm telling you, this is the very best time of year to do it. There is no other way for me to say it. It's not even a topic for debate. I'm glad they have recycle bins here too. Thailand is actually a pretty modern country compared to most other places in Southeast Asia. The quality of life here kicks the crap out of pretty much all of its neighbors. I remember, not last year, but the year before last, about a year and a half ago, I had to take a visa run to Laos. I didn't go to Vientiane then. I went to Savanakhet on the border. There was a Thai embassy there. I had to get my visa renewed because many times expats have to go abroad every 3 months to get their visas renewed. They get tourist visas. That's exactly what I did. Well, anyway, I took the bus from Nakhon Ratchasima, where I lived at the time, all the way to Mukdahan, province in northeast Thailand. And then I caught another bus from there to Savannah Kid. And just on that one trip alone, I saw the quality of life in Thailand beats that of Laos by a country mile. It was really sad, but it also was an eye-opener. It taught me not to take things for granted. One of the reasons why I've had such a hard time dealing with living in Vietnam, well, first of all, it's not an easy country to live in. It is a third world country. It's not their fault. It's nobody's fault. That's just the way that it is. So they don't have the kind of amenities and luxuries people in the United States do. That's one reason. But the main reason why is because I've kept comparing Saigon to Bangkok. Now, I know it's not fair to the Vietnamese people for me to do that, and it sounds almost pretentious and condescending. However, it's kind of hard not to notice these things. It's human nature. It was my first adventure. This was my first real overseas adventure, living in Thailand. It's the first time I'd ever lived abroad. So, of course, it's going to leave that much of an impression on me. I mean, that's true in all facets of life. One time, I remember someone interviewing a historian on TV somewhere, and they were asking him, who was the best president in U.S. history? Who was the best American president we ever had? And he said, George Washington. Well, of course, most people, if they could see all the presidents, if they could live that long, like vampires or whatever, most people are going to say it was George Washington because he was the very first president we ever had. He set the precedent of what a president should be. That almost sounds like a tongue twister. But anyway, everybody, all the voters, kept comparing the previous administrations afterwards to George Washington, all the way up to Abraham Lincoln. All of them. John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, John Quincy Adams, James Monroe, James Madison, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, all of them. The reason why it stopped right around the time Lincoln, the 16th president, came into power was because our country had never been in a civil war before. We'd never seen anything like that. That was the biggest challenge that we'd ever had in our history at the time. Lincoln and FDR and Barack Obama probably had more challenges than any other president in our entire history. FDR dealt with the Great Depression. Lincoln dealt with a civil war. He had to restore the Union. So, yes, naturally people were dissatisfied with the performance of Thomas Jefferson and all the rest of them in between, because they all expected him, the president, to be just like George Washington. And it doesn't always work that way. So, I can't expect Saigon to be exactly like Bangkok, even if it is similar. It's like a clone of Bangkok. It may be its fraternal twin brother, but it's not an identical twin. These people here seeing me probably think I'm talking to myself, probably think I'm a little nutso, and that's fine. I'm not asking for their opinion. Heck, I might be doing it anyway because I have Asperger's, and people would think I was stimming if they understood what it is. But unbeknownst to them, I'm narrating a video. I'm heading westward now towards the sunset. I hope I'm as ripped as that guy is someday, that guy that just passed. I've been working on it. Speaking of which, in their defense, one thing I will have to credit Vietnam for is it is a good place to live if you want to lose weight. If you want to get ripped, Vietnam is an excellent place to live. The food there is very healthy, it's cheap, and plus it's hot and humid there, which means you sweat a lot. Fat becomes soluble, so I will give them that. The hospitality there is pretty good as well. You know, what's really interesting, I never really thought about it until I came to Southeast Asia, but I'd heard somewhere that poor people are some of the most generous people there are, and that is true. These are poor countries compared to the United States, but the people are incredibly generous. I've never seen such hospitality in my entire life. My mother is from Kansas City. She always talks about how great the hospitality is in the Midwest. And I agree, actually. It is very good. But even Bangkok on a bad day easily puts Kansas City to shame in that category. Bangkok still wins hands down. So does Vietnam. It's different cultures, though. I remember one day when I was lost on my way home to District 7, where I lived in Saigon. I didn't know where I was going. My phone battery was dead. I couldn't get a Wi-Fi signal anywhere because Wi-Fi is slow there. And I had no idea where I was going because my GPS didn't work, obviously. Well, then some guy stopped and he said, "Where you go?" He said that in broken English. And I told him, "I'm going to District 7. I have no idea where I'm going." And he said, "Okay, follow me." And that's exactly what I did. I followed him all the way home down Win Hu To Street and found my way back to my apartment. That's how polite and how generous and accommodating he was. Nobody in the United States would have ever gone out of their way to help me like that. I could never repay that kind of debt to somebody. That just proves my point that poor people are some of the most hospitable people there are. So, the main thing that's hard about living in Bangkok, though, is that it's very crowded. It's got about, 17 or 18 million people. It's about the size of New York City, give or take. It's very crowded. And every place I've been trying to visit during this short time span I've been here is incredibly crowded. I went to Terminal 21 yesterday, and it was crowded. I couldn't hear myself think because of all the noise. Now, it is Tet, so there are a lot of festivities going on, but even so, you have to learn to tune all that stuff out. I'm going to see what's going on here. There's some kind of a cultural thing going on in this facility. Oh, it's an aerobics class. An outdoor aerobics class. I better not come much closer because I might disrupt things. Bangkok is very cosmopolitan, though. That's one thing I really, really like about it. Most people think that it's a very homogenous locale because they think that way about most of Asia, which most of rural Asia is, but there are expats here and there. More than I anticipated. And that's what I like about it. Cosmopolitan is good. I remember in November 2015 when I came here for a job interview. I came for a job interview. I spoke to the guy on the phone. He had an accent. I thought he was just another Thai guy. And, you know, I went and I waited for him at a hospital by the office. I saw a bunch of Saudi Arabian and other Middle Eastern expats there. I guess they were medical tourists. Medical tourism is very big in Thailand. Well, anyway, I called the guy to go meet him at his office. I thought he was a Thai guy. And then I was shocked when I met him because he wasn't Thai. He was a black guy. He was an African guy. He's from Cameroon. Nicest guy, too, I've ever met. Well, he and an Englishman interviewed me for the job, and we had great chemistry. Our rhythms connected very well. But it was right then and there how I appreciated how cosmopolitan Bangkok is. There's the skyline over there. Silom Station is somewhere over there. That's where the MRT meets up with the SkyTrain. It's Saladang. Yeah, that's like their Grand Central Station. That one building over there, it looks like it's incomplete, as I stated before in one of my videos last year from Cloud 47, but it's not. It is completed. That's the Mahanakorn Tower. It looks like a giant tower of blocks all piled up on one another. It's very unique. The Mahanakorn Tower. It is topped out. When you look at it, sometimes you're wondering if the whole thing will collapse. Because it looks like a bunch of loading blocks just piled up on one another. It looks like that game Kerplunk. And not long after I had that interview, Thanksgiving Day came up. I was going to celebrate Thanksgiving somewhere, but all the places, the prices were astronomical, so I wound up having Indian food instead. There's a very large Indian population in Bangkok, and ironically, that was some of the best Indian food I've ever had. I fell in love with mango lassi. Now, I'm going to go over here real quick to this statue of Buddha. I remember last year making a joke called Budapest. A million Hungarians pestering Budapest. I don't know if any of my viewers remember that joke from last year when I came around here. But yes, you see that woman whining Buddha. This country is 90% Buddhist. So I'm going over to this Buddhist statue over here too. No, I'm not here to see this calico cat. However, she is cute. But here's another statue of Buddha. I won't stay here too long because I don't want to be a Budapest. Oh yeah, one more thing too. I have a more advanced phone this time, which means I don't have to worry about the battery running low because it's a more sophisticated model. The one I used last year, it was a prototype, one of the original smartphones, which aren't so smart now. That's why it had such low definition film and why I always had to take such short videos, because it was a prototype phone. Here's another calico for you. Kitty! I'm a big cat lover. I have 4 cats back home in Austin, Texas. I miss my cat Gracie all the time. She's my 4-legged princess. Oh, I have to stop. They're playing the Thai national anthem. I probably shouldn't have been filming this during the Thai national anthem, but at least I stopped. I still showed respect for their culture as much as I can. Maybe they'd cut me a little bit of slack seeing how I'm a Farang, but nobody has said anything to me, so I'll just leave it at that. I forgot that they play the national anthem at 6 o'clock every evening. That's what time it is right now. See, I wanted to make sure that everybody got a nice view of Lumpini Park during the daytime, during the sunset and dusk, if possible, nightfall. See how everything changes and such. You know, I had this conversation yesterday with my friend Miranda when I went to a room. Most people in America don't realize what's wrong with America because They've never seen America from the outside in. They've never lived in or experienced another culture and been able to compare it to that of the United States. That's why I think so many people are just oblivious to what goes on and why we have so much turmoil back in the States. Because nobody's ever been abroad before. Everybody lives in a bubble. That's why if it were up to me, there'd be a new program, not necessarily a draft, but there'd be some constitutional amendment that requires everybody between the ages of 18 and 26 to do some kind of selective service, whether it be serving in the military, serving in the Peace Corps, in AmeriCorps, Amnesty International, the UN, or something. Something that takes them away from home, takes them outside of their comfort zone, and gives them a whole new perspective on life. Something that makes them look in the mirror and reassess how things are. Something that teaches them not to take things for granted. Teaching abroad, even, would be fine with me. Now, whether it's in a more developed country like Japan, or Hong Kong, or Taiwan, that's still a topic for debate. But it would certainly sink in quicker if it was in a lesser developed country. Make people appreciate the freedoms they have more, or don't have. Either or. It's kind of a double-edged sword. There's the SkyTrain going by. Looks like it just left Saladang Station. I know this is a long video, but I want to be thorough. That's how I'm trying to do it in all my videos. Some people complain that they thought my videos were too long. Well, I'm just being thorough. I want to give the viewers the whole enchilada, not just small tidbits. I don't cherry pick what I show them. I want to be as exclusive as possible. See, I'm not one of those newscasters on cable television that only shows people small snippets of information here and there and cherry picks what I want to show them and tries to bias all the information and mold their opinions. I want people to formulate their own opinions. I want them to think for themselves. That's why I've had such a difficult time teaching sometimes. I'm not mentioning any names or being too specific here because I don't want to run into any kind of trouble back home. But there were a few individuals who didn't like my teaching style very much because it was against the conventional morality of the powers that be. I was trying to get my students to think for themselves, teach them critical thinking, and that didn't bode very well. There was some other stuff that went on too. We don't need to get into that. I don't want to go too much into detail. I'll save that topic for another video. But the point is, I'm just being thorough. I want the viewers to feel as if they're here right in the middle of the thick of it, like I am. And if the viewers have questions, the more thorough I am, the more answers they'll be able to get. My philosophy is there's no such thing as a stupid question unless you already know the answer. Well, looky here, an outdoor gym. I want to be that ripped someday. I'm working on it. Rome wasn't built in a day, though. There's that lake with all the ponds again. The lake with all the swans. Excuse me, the pond with all the swans. It's been a long day. And I'm kind of distracted by other things going on. I was actually trying to see if I could get a closer shot of the Mahanakorn Tower, but I can't see it anywhere. It's obstructed by all these trees. But at least the viewers, assuming they saw my other videos of Lumpini Park, got to see Budapest again. There's that mural of the king up there on that building I was talking about earlier.